Picking up where we left off, we're going to start actually working on the code for the round robin Zipcode trigger. Let's get started by creating the trigger itself. We're going to press Ctrl-Shift-P, go into the extensions panel, and click Apex Trigger for what we want to create. Name it lead trigger. We're going to select all the defaults here, and now our trigger is going to be created. So the boilerplate gets dropped in. We're going to go ahead and call the code to our handler class. We're going to pass in the trigger.new, so anything new that's coming in. And that's going to be it for our lead trigger. We're going to keep it very simple, and there is specific reasons behind this based on trigger frameworks. In our extensions panel, we're going to push our information into our Scratch org. Perfect. It looks like there was an error. Let's go and check it out in the logs. A couple things are actually wrong. Schema.sObject is not a valid type, meaning that we need to actually change this trigger to be on lead. Let's just go ahead and create our handler class really quickly. Put the name in there, and we have technically already defined the name as lead handler and all the defaults there. Boom, that's created. Some boilerplate. We're going to remove all of that. We're using a static method to handle our leads that are coming in. Lead list. And let's open up the brackets here. Perfect. Let's save that and go back to our lead trigger. We need to update the S object like I said before. So let's call that lead and save. Now we're going to push to our Scratch org. Waiting for that to come through. And there we go. Everything has been pushed. All of our new source that lives inside of our local machine has been pushed to our Scratch org. If we go into Salesforce, Apex classes, we'll be able to see that our new lead handler was created now. And the same thing with our trigger. Back into the code, let's actually start filling out this handler method. It's always good to put some comments. Definitely plan your code out before you write anything. Assign users to Zipcode. Perfect. Now that the commenting's done, let's go into the first section. So we're going to need a map to hold our zip codes that the leads object passes in. So we're going to start that out. Name it Zipcode lead map. This is how I like to name my maps. Our key is going to be the zip code, and the list of leads are going to be any leads that have that particular zip code. Now that we have something to hold our leads into correct sections, let's go ahead and loop over our leads. Put that in a temporary lead list. And something very cool here is we're going to do a selection back to the map based on the zip code that is already sent in here. One key part here is we're going to be doing a get on the zip lead map for the postal code. If there are any values for that key, then it will be returned. If not, it will be null. Temp lead list equals new list of leads. Let's get our colons in there. Cool. Now that that's done, we're going to add any new lead to that list that we have. And we're doing this every time because we are checking and creating, instantiating a new temp lead list every single time. So it doesn't matter. Perfect. We can just add to that lead list. And now we need to go ahead and put everything inside of the map that we have. So the map key is going to be our postal code, and we are putting our temp lead list in there. Perfect. This is everything we need to sort our list. We have our map sorted by postal codes, and we have these specific leads in there. We're using our temp lead list, setting it every time, no matter what. So if it's null, we're going to create a new one. If not, we're just going to add to it. Let's get started on the next section, which is the sorting of the zip codes object. This is going to be very similar to our first section. I could probably just copy and paste it and reuse the same code that's up there. But I wanted to show some interesting different ways of writing code, especially with lists that we can use to simplify our code down. It might not be as user-friendly to look at it, but it is something that you can take note of when you're writing your own code to incorporate some of these aspects in here. The first difference is, since we don't have our lead list passed in, we're going to be doing a select statement from all of the leads that are in our zip lead map, using the key set to find all of the different zip codes that exist. In Zipcode zip lead map dot key set, perfect. And then we're going to add our curly braces at the end here. We are iterating through our list of zip code objects from the leads that were passed in. Breeze through some code here. So we're going to create a list of zip codes that we're going to do our initial assignment, pretty much exactly the same as our list of leads in the above section. Then we should be able to do a similar if statement to check to see if that list has ever been created before from the map. Equals null, and I'm not using any curly braces here. This will always run the next line in the if statement as long as there's only one thing next to it. Cool, and let's just add to our list. Assigned __ C, zip code assigned map, and we'll add in our arguments here. The second one is going to be the temp map, and the zip code from the zip code object is going to be the key. Very similar to the first section, we can see that it's a little bit shorter due to the if statements, and the lists are being created in a shorthand way with the open and close brackets. Oh, looks like we got an error. I think these need to be underscored here, and you can find the final code inside of the description down below with all of the corrections and some additional comments. Cool. So there we have it. Once again, you can see these specific sections are very similar, but just a little bit different in how they're being created. All right, let's get to the actual assignment. We're going to create a for loop on our zip lead map, looping through our key set here. Let's get some curly braces going. Now that we'll be looping over our individual zip codes, we're going to select all of the users that exist inside of the zip assignment map. So this is the zip code object. We're going to select the users that are assigned to it, or the list of the users that are assigned to it based on the zip code. There's a specific modulus function that we're going to use to loop from the start of the list to the end and then back to the start again. That's going to require an outside counter that continues to count based on each zip code, so it resets after for the next loop itself. Here we're just doing some boilerplate checking, making sure that the users in the list actually exist. It's greater than 0. Now we're going to loop over all of the leads that are in our zip code map. We will be getting our zip codes by entering our key and start to set the owner based on whoever is next in line in the assignment list. I'm going to put a placeholder of 0 because I want to spend a second after we finish the code to go over the modulus function briefly. In here, we're just going to increment our index. We're going to be using the modulus function to loop from the end of the list back to the front based on however many people are in there and where the index is. So the modulus function returns a remainder. It takes two parameters, the dividend and divisor, Check out links in the description where we'll go over the Modulus function even more, and I will have some breakdown videos on this particular use of the Modulus function in the description. So the dividend is going to be index and the divisor is going to be the size of the list. In our case, this is going to continue to repeat from 0 to 1 in our assignment list since there are only 2 values in that list. And that's all we need for this round robin trigger. It's going to take in a list of leads, grab all of the zip codes that match those leads that have come in, and then do assignment based on all of the users that are in that zip code. Check out my next video where I go over how we're going to do some informal testing of this trigger.